Clever.
Did you call back to Tom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Awesome. Hooray. Everybody's puppets on the screen at the same time. Okay, and then let's do a little dance freak out. Okay, and we're done. Great. Awesome. Guys, that was really, really great. Once again, I know this kind of thing is really dumb and silly, but just the kind of introduction of the puppet into the space and out. And I would love to try this again tomorrow, but I will choose a type of music that we can play and that people can kind of respond to and react to as we go from scene to scene. And once again, there are ways that we can, in this digital format, play with how the puppet is used, kind of, or even the shadow screen is used in this way by having, for example, similar puppets that are in different parts of the world and perform things. So anyway, because we're performing in this way, it's also kind of a way to think about digital performance with puppets. Okay, enough of that warm up. Now we are going to go into kind of individually kind of addressing where each of you are. And I just want to mention this too. I know that some of you are still working. So it's okay in this process if I'm talking to somebody directly about what they're working on or if they're showing something to me to work a little bit quietly off to the side and check in. It's totally fine. I know you have a lot of stuff to do or to make. But if you want to just stay engaged too, and that's another way to do it. But if you feel like you want to be kind of making on the side, that's also totally fine. All right. Um, is there anyone who wants to start us off, or I could also show Jarrell's video as kind of a starter for us to kind of see what he came up with? Okay,
Yes.
why don't we, I'm getting some nods. So why don't I share Jarrell's video first? We can just talk a little bit about that. And then if there's somebody who's ready to kind of talk about what they're working on next, we'll go to them. So first for Jarrell, here we go. Okay, can everybody see this?
Mhm.
And I just want to, sorry, just want to, there is a title to this piece, so I just want to, okay, this piece is, Jarrell introduced it. He said, this piece is called I Am the Bear, and it is about police profiling. So here we go. Cool. So I think that's the end of it. Awesome. Awesome. I once again, I don't know if sorry, Jarrell's not here, so we can't give him some applause. Well, we can still give him some applause. But yes, I don't know if Jarrell is working on this or if this is even the thing he's performing tonight. But a couple of things that I really love that I'm seeing right now. I don't know if you can see, but he seems to be made his screen out of a PVC kind of format, right? With those additional lights, there seems like a PVC is going back to kind of maybe be the kind of holder of the light. There's also other light sources that he's using. The video, of course, is very quiet, probably maybe because he's started to work without music or without sound. And I think that will, eventually help fill some of those spaces that we feel kind of inside the between actions. And I would say that that's one thing to consider as we are all working. The shadow space as itself is a space which is kind of filled with light and movement and life, right? And or a kind of tempo of life. So in our work, and especially difficult with a single puppeteer, moving between moments where you have to do a transition and the screen is still or not quite so alive can sometimes pull down the kind of momentum of the piece if there isn't something else kind of pushing our experience forward, whether it's audible or lighting wise. So it's not that a still screen can be completely ineffective, but just that the nature of watching this screen in light implies that we try to kind of fill it with a kind of life that extends from moment to moment. Another kind of interesting thing that I would say, just kind of puppetry-wise, which Jarrell's exploring with, is the surprise and transformations, right? The housescape becoming a question, and things happening that were not expected to kind of be there. So those are real great pluses in terms of how you can use this medium to kind of change people's expectations of what are happening. Even in the design, there's something about the whole big thing which looks like a giant, like bear mouth with eyes and nose that's watching it, right? And so there's a lot of stuff going on in there, which is really cool. So anyway, well, usually I'd love to get some feedback from Jarrell about this. If you guys have any thoughts, please jump in, and I'm also going to write him separately. But did anybody have any feelings or thoughts just watching the work? And it's a rehearsal, of course. Yes, Lindsay.
I really liked his use of perspective with the set.
Yeah.
How you could look at it two ways. One was just a flat way of looking at it, and the one is as if you're laying on the street and looking up.
And seeing both sides of the buildings on either side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
messing around with the perspective, that was really very creative.
Yeah. Yeah. We can also, I think, see that Jarrell, like all of us, is finding ways to like, okay, I need to make the puppet stand here, and I need to have something hang here, and I've only got one hand here. So dealing with those things and trying to find ways to solve that, which tricks us into thinking there can't be just one person doing this. That's where we're getting even more and more sophisticated with what we're doing. So anyway, I appreciate that he really sent in something that he's working on, and now I want to move on to you all. Is there somebody who would like to start? I know that I have some videos from Robert. I know that Christina has some stuff. Robert, you want to start? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute yourself, Robert, and I'm going to go ahead and share your stuff. Okay?
Okie dokie.
Oh, whoopsie, sorry, just a second.
And so remember, one of my primary purposes of this whole production for me is to make it work for 8th graders.
Right. Make it work for 8th graders. And I think it's, if I was one of your 8th graders, I'd be super excited to kind of be in your shadow puppet class. How cool would that be? Okay. Okay, so should we start out with facade, Robert?
Okay.
Okay. So tell us what's going on here.
So what I'm trying to do are 2 pictures of the facade. So I was trying to create a way for the student to create their own original shape of the theater, because they're going to be at home. So how do I give them the option And so the facade, the screen is actually separate. So I'll give them a poster board, which I have there, which I cut for my particular show. And I'll show this as an example of how they can take a poster board and put it in front of the screen of their own design. And I think there's another facade picture you can see.
Oh,
And there
cool.
it is.
Yeah.
And that's the screen that I've already made and built. But now they can actually make that square screen interesting and applicable to their show.
So Robert, you're providing the students a kit. It has the square screen, and then part of their assignment is to build the poster board like facade around it, right?
Exactly, however they wish. It can be three-dimensional like yours, or it can be an actual shape, which is what I would hope they would do.
Cool. Great. Let me move forward.
And then this is all part of having to build. I'm making it out of a science board, science, what do you call those things, display.
Right.
So I have a little, I think, Linda, that was your idea. I have a little pipe going across the front to hang things off. I have another pipe kind of supporting the flashlight, which is on a board, and just like a sandwich hanging over the front. I'm not exactly super pleased with that, but it works. The whole thing can fold up now, and I'll make a little sack out of brown paper.
It's great. Here's another view.
Another angle, another view. I've actually added a little pocket.
Oh, cool.
Stick the puppet in.
Right. And these bars are for hanging scenery or for...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they can hang scenery. They can hang their own puppets if they need to have someplace else.
Right.
And then on the other side, they can actually hang additional scenery outside the theater if they wanted to, or left the stick long enough. If they got that creative, I won't say anything. I'll see whether they'll come up with that.
It's awesome. Oh, here's a video. Can we go ahead and watch this?
Absolutely. It's longer than 3 minutes, so we don't have to watch the whole thing. It's like 3:30, but
okay,
you know.
let's go ahead. It's a little small on my screen, but I'm just gonna go ahead and play. Okay.
So this is called
One day,
sorry.
long ago.
Sorry, what's it called?
It's a Japanese folktale called The Magic Tea Kettle.
Oh, awesome. Okay, here goes.
One day, long ago, as the sun rose on a country road, a priest was taking a stroll. And he noticed something peculiar. It looked like a handle sticking out of the road. He tugged and tugged and popped it out. It was amazing. It was a tea kettle. And it seemed ever so perfect. How odd. It almost seemed magical. But it was perfect. He decided to take it back to his temple. He got to his temple, set up a fire, and he got nice and hot. He grabbed his teapot and he put it on the fire. Soon it made the strangest thing. It exploded up into the air. And suddenly it made a noise, he thought. I'm fire, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. He went and chased the thing down, got it, but when he grabbed it to look at it more closely, it looked like a normal teapot. How odd, how peculiar. I must be losing my mind. I think I'll just go to bed. And with that, he took off the fire. The night came in, and he went to sleep. The next morning, the sun rose, and he woke up, and he heard a knock on the door. Come in! It was the junkman. The junkman said to the priest, you have anything for sale? I am looking for something for sale. I do, said the priest. I have just the thing for you. Come follow me. And off they went. Well, the junkman was simply in love with this teapot. He got it really cheap, and he just thought it was absolutely fabulous. So he raced home. And away he went home, got home, and of course he set up his fire. He was all ready. Put his teapot down by the fire, waiting for it to heat up, when suddenly thought he heard an odd sound. Hello, Mr. Junkman. Oh, Mr. Junkman. I'm not an ordinary badger. My name is Bumbacue. that means good luck. The priest tried to burn me up. If you treat me kindly, I can help you make a fortune. Well, how can you do that? Well, I can do all kinds of tricks. All you have to do is put me in a show, sell the tickets for those who want to see my tricks. Well, said the junk man, let me think about that. Sleep on now. The pot was quite relieved and he settled down for the night. Junk man put the fire down and the night came upon and he fell asleep. The next morning, woke up and he had an idea. So excited. He was going to do a circus. He scrambled up and he set up the high wire act. He was all set. He ran off to tell the teapot what was going on. I'm going to go get change, he said. Off he ran. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our circus starring my teapot, Bambaku, the royal teapot. And yay, flew in the teapot and he danced on the dancing wire. And they made lots of money and lived happily ever after.
Yay! Awesome! Terrific, Robert. Really, really great. I'm gonna stop sharing here. First of all, really impressed with everything that you've moved with in this past 2 days. It's really looking great, and I think there's real possibilities in terms of that format. And for all you teachers out there, this is great kind of resource in terms of thinking about how you can share the work. A couple puppetry things I will give you. I think that you may want to, I know this is the first version you've made of the theater, but you may want to move the bottom of the theater opening a little higher so that there's a little bit more place for you to play with the puppets from the bottom of the screen opening to the table that you're working on. Because this is
I agree.
Yeah. Just completely technically, sometimes we're seeing the puppets not like living on the ground. And that happens, and you can observe it, but the more that you can try to kind of establish a common kind of ground line for them and be really precise about the world that they're living in, then that will be even more effective. So I think a little bit more room might just give you just a little bit more ability to kind of work and kind of get the puppets to stand on the ground of the teapot, right? It's a small note, but it's a kind of technical note, but it would kind of, I mean, maybe make it a little bit easier. That said, if your puppets don't walk on the ground, and that's a choice
Any suggestions as far as making the characters slightly more complicated for a student who might be a little bit more sophisticated?
I can go. I don't have a video to show, but I do have questions for you. Sure. Is there a possibility of sharing my screen? Oh, great. Okay. Cool. So these are just some of the puppets that I'm working with right now in my little shadow theater. Thank you. And this is just like my little backstage space. This is a photo from last night's rehearsal that I took. I do have some like technical, just like how-to questions though. So one of my questions is with Tin. So my background is as a director and a designer. I've never really performed with puppetry before. And magnets are like totally my best friend for this as a one-person puppeteer. And I could not find any scrap tin, so I just cut up a soup can, which is in that photo that's up right now, to attract the magnet. But it was very, like I cut myself a lot when I was cutting up the soup can. Is there a better like source to get this scrap tin that you know that you would recommend? Oh no, take your time. I can. Yeah. Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's called a roofing tin, and it's at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's 3 feet by 2 feet, correct?
Flashing.
Flat, what was it? Flashing?
Flashing. Mhm.
Flashing gutters, you said? Okay. Oh, okay.
Can I
Cool.
mention something?
I
just-
did. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I got a cheap ruler
Oh, cool.
and it's metal and things stick to it. That's another thought.
I did have another. I did have a few more questions. I have a 5-second video. I found this lighting effect by accident where there's a clip light on the screen, but then I also have a little like fluorescent flashlight. And you're kind of seeing like two different versions of the shadow puppet kind of reflecting upon each other. And I didn't know if there were other kinds of trippy lighting techniques that we could do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I had like one other quick little question if there's time. So I'm just wondering if you had any tips or tricks for transitions with a one-person puppet show, because I'm rehearsing and finessing, but I'm finding like I'm like moving things around with magnets and like shouting narration in the dark and like in between scenes. And I'm just wondering if there were any other tricks that I could that you had at your sleeve. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. Cool. Cool, thank you.
Someone else can go if you want to. All right, so I'll share my screen. Let's see. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm doing a video rehearsal, but that's tomorrow. I've been building. So I just thought maybe I'd share some of these. How do I share this? Oh, I think I have to pull them up individually. Hang on one sec. Yeah. Oh my God, you hold that. That's really great. So can you see this one? Okay. There is, can you see it now? Ah, yes, right. Okay, so let me share this screen. And there is my opening scenery. Thank you. So what inspired me was the fan, actually, and I thought I would do something with a bird or an angel or something like that, but it didn't turn out that way. But I loved how the fan had all those holes in it. So that's, I'm trying with this class, oops. What I wanted to, my aim is to do as many different kinds of techniques as I possibly can. So I'm creating a series of puppets. So this is this is like act one. There's going to be act one and act two. In act one, there's going to be a war horse, and okay. So as it recedes into the distance, so it's going to start out close and get a little character development. Then I have a horse that's a little smaller, taking it back. And the third horse goes way back into the scenery. And it's a war horse, so you can't tell the effect, but this is like the backdrop of here's the hill. The very littlest horse is going to be in here, and it's a battle, and then the horse dies. But then there's a spirit horse that will come back, milk carton, and then next size, and pretty soon the horse is going to come back and I have to have a set change. I don't know how that's going to happen, but here's the spirit animal. Yeah, they're all three, like there's 3 cardboard ones and 3 transparent ones. So your little idea for the joint on the head worked really well. And that was good. And then for act 2, I have like completely finished everything. It's crazy, but I just wanted to do it. So this for act 2, this is my lighting solution. It's like this little Christmas light, and I've made it sort of like vignette, the shape of the stage, and it will add a second light source. But I really appreciated the discussion because now I know what to do for the battle scene for the horse when the horse dies. So I'm gonna like think about that because I think I have one of those little headlamps. And maybe red. Yeah. So like moving. Terrific. I will try to have a rehearsal video for tomorrow. Thanks. Thanks for
Hello? Hi. I have it here live. I don't know what's the easiest thing. Sure. Well, why don't I just put you up quick and I'll just show you the characters behind the screen quickly. So this is the theater. And I'll just run back there. I'll be right back. These are the little characters. And then we've been experimenting with trying to seal something with a magnet. Oops. And so that's where I am. Whoops. Yep. Tom, hi. Oh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really awkward. I mean, you kind of feel all thumbs. I mean, I haven't practiced, but I mean, you just feel like it's really hard, but yeah. I don't know if anyone cares too much, but I used a loom from IKEA for the base of this puppet theater. But the thing that's cool about it is that it has about, I don't know, 30 hooks on the top and 30 hooks on the bottom. So you can string things and hang things. It's only like $19. I mean, I stole it from my children, but a new one's only $19.
Can you show us that?
Sure, hold on. Do you see? So the top and the bottom has, oops, multiple rows, and then you can, I was trying to string up like raising a flag, which you can do, or whatever, hang
Oh,
things
wonderful.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
I'll go, Tom. Okay, so I'm really impressed with everyone's sharing how much you've done. I'm quite slow when I'm working on creative projects, so it's been a little bit stressful for me, I have to say. And I haven't made a lot, so I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a lot of time. So I just have a few photos I want to share with you. Let me see. Share screen. Okay. Okay. So can you see what I'm sharing? I don't know how this works. Okay, so I wanted to kind of try out different things Tom kind of show us that I've never created before. So one of the things was the water. So this isn't just a mock-up. I need to build it, but I just wanted to test it out and see how it worked with the shadow screen and stuff. So I tried to also experiment with different materials. So this one I used the Ziploc bag for the plastic, and it had a nice movement, and I used Sharpie to add some color to see if it would come through, and it worked okay. And then I've got a few other plastic that I wanted to try out because it has a different thickness and different ways of moving. So this was one experiment I did, and I like it. So I'm going to use it, but I need to build a new one. It's too wide for my purpose. But and then I wanted to also play with colors instead of using gel. So I kind of used the clear plastic, you know, those packaging you give, the hard to cut kind of clear plastic. So I've been saving those for my students actually for a workshop. So I've been kind of experimenting with those, try different colors. So I use liquid acrylic, didn't work very well for the shadow. Sharpie works the best. I don't have a glass paint, the paint thing. So Sharpie worked the best. This is a Sharpie. And can you see it big? Oh yeah. Oh, really? Okay, wait, hold on. Because on my screen it shows. How do I do this? I've never shared anything on Zoom, so it's the first time. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me go out and double click. Can you see bigger? No? Really? Okay. Okay, so let's see. I don't know. Is it better? I'm not sure how this. Really? Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So one thing I while I was experimenting with Sharpies is that you can mix colors and it changed because I only had like standard blue, green, and whatnot, and then I was able to mix colors. It was really fun to yeah. So anyway, that was one experiment I did. And then I wanted to kind of make small scale puppet. It's really tiny. I don't know if you can see, and jointed. So I need to figure out how to put the controller. So that's the part I'm right now trying to decide if like which method to go with. You know, am I gonna be doing it from downward or perpendicular to the thing? What kind of movement do I want to get? So I'm kind of playing with that. So that's so I'm not sure. Anyway, that's only like yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. 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 And then I'm playing with a different scale. So I have a big profile silhouette, and then there's a tiny one full figure. So yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it that I have that I can share today. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 All right. Thanks. Okay, we'll do.
I'll go. I'm a guilty as an overachiever. A lot of this stuff I had already made, and I'm just so eager to get. I mean, the thing that I'm most curious about, as far as it goes, as a like single puppeteer, I don't have any too much real experience. I love making stuff. That's why I make a bunch of stuff. But the how to put it together, these ideas about transitions, that stuff's been so helpful. I made my screen out of a picture frame and then realized that it actually, I'll have to raise it up because a lot of the puppeteering from below, which makes so much sense, I'm not able to do on this. I have to puppeteer from here. So I'll show you what I made, a little bit of what I made. Okay. I think my picture's okay. So now I can hear you, but I can't see you because I've left my camera over there. But I'll show you some of what I made. You know, and then this guy comes out. I haven't figured that part out yet.
That's so clever.
And then there's this.
Wow.
So this one I can kind of go around this stuff like, I don't know, I'm still playing with it. So that's it.
Is that the mirror? Is that the mirror trick?
That's the mirror trick. Yeah, I put a little spaceship on the little mirror.
Oh, awesome. That's so
So-
cool.
It's pretty rad. This was a huge breakthrough of just like, oh, the mirror is so cool. Doop, doop. Thanks. One idea, kind of what I was thinking about with this theme of like just a spaceship, what makes it kind of fun for me is to just play with these shadows. Like those are little models that I had made, and then just playing with flashlights in the screen, you find really cool stuff. So I was thinking story-wise, if the little spaceship goes behind the screen, I can have a little potted plant, I can have jars, I can have those shapes. And if I can clear that space behind the screen while the little spaceship like descends, then I can use the flashlight to to explore that world of jars or of plants. This is what I'm thinking, or of these shapes, so that then the little spaceship takes off again and goes to another place. Because I don't know, just like little episodes of like, what do plants look like as shadows? What do these things? Kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, no, I know, because it's through my headphone. Like holding that up to the iPad. Sure. Okay. Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you.
I'll go. I don't have anything physical to show you yet. Honestly, I'm just kind of like overwhelmed with everything. And I'm trying not to make it too complicated. So right now I'm working on still images that are going to be sequential still images to create a story. And I wrote the story already, and I did some illustrations for storyboarding it, which I think is really helpful for me in my process. Um, it's a nighttime. It's a nighttime scene, and the moon is very important. So right now the moon is a shadow, just like everything else. And I was just wondering if you think that could be effective, or should the moon be what? Should the moon be a light source in the sky? Yeah, I think so. If I do that, does the background have to be black, or can I just use that when the um, when the screen is all light?
Yeah, I think if then with a completely light screen, you could have that cutout piece of plastic, maybe find a thin control. You could even make a control of clear plastic attached to the sphere of slightly sanded plastic. So the light shines through the clear place, but you have the diffuse plastic representing the moon. That might be a way to do it. And then you have a clear control, so there's no stick sticking straight out of the moon, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. That's what I just also want to mention that, you know, Kim told me about this idea of single images, right? And we saw some of that in the traditional performances of Thailand and Vietnam. And it's a really powerful kind of form, just kind of having shadow images that's a completely still image and then moving to the next one, right? And there's actually a whole form that developed in Japan called kami shibai, which means paper play. and it was after in the 30s and after the war, where a storyteller would just tell a story with like plates on the street inside a little frame, right? So I was telling Kim, well, her idea for this is a really interesting kind of way of doing that, kind of as a shadow version. So even if it has no text at all, if it's just music, but just going from a still to a still, I think could be really kind of powerful simplicity, I guess, is what I'm thinking it might be. So anyway, Kim, I think if that's helpful for you, soldier forward. And yeah, I know we'd love to see some of the images, even the sketches, so that we can help you kind of get to the place where you can actually put it into movement of going from image to image.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Hooray. Thank you. Hooray. Awesome. So we could go to Florida. We could go to Melbourne. We could go to Sonora. I don't know. It's a wealth of global options. Aisha, you want to tell us where you're? Yeah, you want? Okay.
Sure. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I definitely still trying to figure out what I'm doing.
It's
But
okay.
I have. So I think I haven't had any time. Also, we just went into stage 4 lockdown, and I couldn't get a box.
Oh
So
gosh.
I'm. But I found a box at the supermarket, so I'm gonna make my stage tonight after I finish work.
Oh,
And
gosh.
so in the meantime, I did what I could, and at least I have I think I have an idea, and then tonight I'll try.
Awesome.
I wrote this story that I want to turn into a shadow puppet performance anyway. So this is the simplified version. So I have a few characters. I made all these things, but they're all very static.
Right.
So I'm still trying to figure out, I want to attach moving hair.
Cool.
I'm not sure how yet. And even though this looks like a windmill, I did want it to move. So one thing to go around. So I'm thinking, yeah. So yeah, I've kind of just made a few things.
It's
I haven't really
great.
figured out. Oh, and then these hopefully will drop down.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, all of that looks super exciting, and I have one idea for the windmill,
Yeah.
and that's that you can cut out if you can make whatever will be the stand of the windmill, like the kind of part that it will rotate on, and then cut out that windmill shape kind of as just as beautifully as you've done, so that it's a full wheel, right? And then the stand and the wheel, poke a hole through both in the center and make a little bit of a hinge with wire, kind of that infinity joint that I've talked about in some of the other classes. That could be a great way of having that windmill turn. And what I think you'd need is to be able to make sure that the stand for the windmill is stable enough so it can support itself and stand up. Yeah. Right. And then to turn it, you could do a couple different things. You could just have a wire from off stage and slowly move one of the spokes around and kind of let gravity take it. You could actually attach a control to it, but you have to face the wheel towards you, so the control is on one end, and you can make it go around and round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely a total possibility of doing that. With the hair, you might explore I know you guys are in lockdown, but you might explore using some kind of fabric or cheesecloth or even tissue that you could just stick to the head and then put a control on and then move that around, you know what I mean? So yeah, so the figure has a control on her body or their body, and then something is on the hair, so you can kind of float them both. You know.
And if I wanted on the same kind of idea of moving something, I thought if I could have, because the beginning of the story is I wanted a river. I'll just have but I didn't. I kind of want it to move. I wanted something, you know what I mean, like a wave. So I was thinking of material, but I wasn't sure how to boat and river.
Boat and river together is hard. That's really hard, and you might have to, Aisha, you might have to have the boat be on a stand, so the boat can stay still. And then this is one idea for a river. Oh brother, I can do it really fast. Just hang on. Oh, where's my scissors? It's crazy. Okay, here, I'll just do it with a knife. Just a second. But this is one of those classic ways to make a river using two different pieces of river shape, right? This is going to be really a horrendous example, but I hope it will at least give you some ideas. Just one second. Oh, brother. Anyway, okay.
When you're ready, make your screen big, please.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, all right. Where's my screen? Okay, right here. Okay. So basically, if you have two shapes of water, right? And then you have them so they move like in opposition to each other by some weird contrivance that you would devise out of found recycling. Do you kind of see how that does a little bit of a water movement?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very old school like puppet and like stage trick that you could do, right? Or you could just do something like a really, really thin fabric and keep that behind or in front of the boat, and just kind of keep that kind of like going like this where the boat is still, right? And then you've got some water, but it's going to be one of those things where you just have to experiment with it and like, you know.
Yeah.
But listen, I read in the news about the craziness Melbourne's going through, so I was like, oh my gosh, poor Aisha, she's okay. But you know, just keep pushing forward. I think making theater is awesome, and just see how it goes and where you can get to. I know it's hard not to be able to leave or get the right materials, but I'm super excited. I'm also really hoping that whatever happens, that you put some of your music into this, because I would love to hear your music.
I'm using. I've got two pieces that I'm gonna try. So I've got the idea is 3 scenes that are static. Set like 3 scenes, like I'll switch, and then there'll be one moving thing in each scene. So I think that's something I can actually achieve.
Yes.
Music for that at this point.
That sounds like a great achievable goal, you know, and I think that, yeah, that sounds wonderful. And once again, like, I want to caution all of you to think about our sharing. Once again, our sharing is not something finished by all means. Once again, it's a snapshot of the process where you're at. And you may even decide like, you know what, I just want to do one scene and do it well, or investigate the things that are really hard about it because this is my first time, right? So there is definitely a deadline because we want to share with each other, but it's not like, you should feel confident that you have a completely supportive, warm audience that wants you to succeed, that we're not like, you know, anyway. So I just want to say that your process is your own, and take that time that you need and make something that is making you feel awesome about this process, not like I have a sword over my head. So cool. Hooray! And with that, shall we go to Florida? Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I have a lot to share with you.
Awesome.
I'm gonna walk around with my little computer. I actually did make a small theater, and I loved the intimacy of that theater. But since I have the overhead projector, I wanted to play with that.
Cool.
So I'm going to take you into my kitchen, and
I love that there are puppets in multiple rooms in your house.
oh, my whole house has become a puppet place. Okay, so I'm going to go turn the light on, and just quickly.
Okay. Wow.
So cool.
So she's got the overhead.
Lots of cool things, right? With this
Yeah.
projector, because it's big. I need help with my controls, obviously, but the scale, the opportunity for scale is really cool. And then building these other little components.
Right.
Can you see that?
Yeah, it looks, well, it's a little fuzzy, but it looks like a sort of organic background. Is that right?
Better?
Yeah. Ooh. Butterfly.
So, I've done a couple little vignettes, but I'm really just playing with the scale because there's the potential, you know, to bring in, I make masks and things. So,
oh, wow.
you know, I could be in there. This bear sort of character, I'd really like to work it out so that it's just not so wibbly, you know, it's just
Yeah.
too.
What I can say by looking at it is it just might have a couple too many points right now of movement. So what I think you could do is to start off by restricting the movement in certain places just by putting a little tape on the back of him. You know what I mean? So maybe like, for example, in the body, since I guess I should say this first. When you're working with puppets, the more points of movement, the more complicated the puppet is to move, right? That's why the single puppet on the stick is the most easily controlled. But the more variables there are in the movement, it gets harder because unintended movement can happen. So I'd suggest is to maybe restrict like some of the joints in the body, like position them into a beautiful like position, but then just keep the one that you want to move with, maybe that front paw, kind of free. Yeah, and then see if that can help you so that you've got one point of movement rather than a bunch of movement. It also can take just a lot of experimentation with that. But even this, you're getting some pretty cool movement out of it right now.
It's kind of really tricky because with the overhead, I have to be like this.
Yes, yeah.
And then when you switch, right, it's a completely different kind of gravity thing going on, and
totally,
it's really weird.
The one thing, Sarah, is you might want to consider if you're going to both use the overhead projector stage and your sheet, maybe make two puppets. One that is just on the overhead projector, and then a simpler cutout that's like just a stick that's for the sheet. And that way you could get used to the way the one has to move on the overhead, but then when it pops into the foreground, you have one that's suited for that kind of performance style. You know what I mean? So it looks awesome. From our view here, your computer camera kind of the image is a little kind of blown out, like it's too bright. But I would love it if you were able to film like with your camera or your phone on another try. Do you think you'd be able to do that?
I did some of that.
Oh yeah, that already seems to me much clearer.
But I don't know how to get it to you. Like, I don't know how to do Google Drive, and that sounds really stupid, but
Can you just text it to me or email it to me?
it's really a fat file.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, because the thing about here's another.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I think we can, in these images, we can see it much clearer. But maybe what you can do is keep on working the way you're working, but send a couple still images so we can really see those details nicely the way you've really made them. That's the one thing I think I'm having a trouble seeing right now.
Yeah, because like by the head, can you see that? There's like a
Yeah.
whole little scene with the bear.
Oh, I didn't even see that little scene. Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta find a way to send that to us. Also, just have to say that the head of the person lying down with that kind of spiral labyrinth is so amazing. Ooh, ah, oh.
So I did your wire, you know.
Oh, supports, yeah.
Yeah. So that part's working good. And the spiral head. When I had the smaller theater, it was really cool because I could put a flashlight or
Right,
I could really play with that labyrinth.
right.
Um,
That looks awesome, yeah.
but
Well, Sarah, you could even experiment with like keeping a flashlight in your pocket, right? Doing some of the scenes on the overhead projector, and then when you come to the screen, pull out the flashlight from your pocket and do things by hand there too. Might be another way also to get some of those same textures you got when you were working on the flat screen, you know?
I did. Can I show you one? I did a flashlight one.
Sure, show us. And once again, folks, this is really great because we're seeing like some of this work being done on a larger scale, right, than just the small theaters. So that's really kind of cool. Ooh. Wow.
So it's a little girl cutout, but it makes a double image, which was really interesting.
Yeah. That's kind of a version of what Kevin has been doing,
Yeah.
another version of what Kevin is doing, which is also really cool.
But
It's
see,
awesome.
it's two.
Yeah.
You can't see from there, but when you see it,
Yeah, I can see that double thing. I think because there's a little distance between the lens and the cutout. It looks great.
yeah, but when you get the same, I can't do it. When you get it just right, it'll be two images of the little girl
Right.
cut out, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sarah,
Let's
this
get craziness.
we
Florida.
love your Florida craziness. I'm just so excited that you're coming up with this stuff. I would say keep playing, and if you can't like send me a big file, send me photos. You can email them to me. You can even text them to me if you want. My phone number is at the bottom of my emails that I send. But anything would be great to see a little bit close up. But I just love that you're working on this big scale and thinking about masks, thinking about like, using the whole space. So it's really exciting to see that, and then also see the detail with which you're crafting some of these backgrounds. It's pretty exciting. It's epic. So just keep on going.
Well, like I said, I really liked the intimacy of that little theater, but I tend to kind of get big, so
Yeah.
we'll just see.
Nice. Thank you so much, Sarah. We'll see where you are tomorrow. I'm going to give us a chance to jump over to Eileen. Eileen, are you there?
Yes, I'm here
Hey.
working on it. I'm going to show you some of the things I was looking and doing. I did my screen, but then again, when I ask about this layer shadow puppet way to do it, and you said that it can be used and it can be done by an overhead projector. I had
Yeah.
one, so I started doing some of. I just put aside my box, and then I started working with that. So trying to just match the image with the cell phone and to recording. So basically, right now what I have done, it's just a pair of let me see. Okay, uh, just some exploration, right? Can you see my screen? Yeah, right.
Oh yes. Oh wow. Yeah.
All right, so it's just a couple of seconds. It's a 42 seconds. So it's just a bunch of random exploration. No sound or anything. Just moving around. Then I start doing some shadows around and trying to get scenery around. So. And that's it. That's what I've been doing. And then I had my storyboard, which helps a lot on what I need for, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah. Wait, hold that up for a second, Eileen. Just hold that up. This, just for folks who haven't done this before, Eileen is showing another example of kind of creating a puppet story, right? And it's basically just making a square of the action from scene to scene to scene. And this can be really helpful for you to kind of figure out what you want to do. Kim talked a little bit about how she was doing that too, but that's a really great way for structuring the work. Yeah.
And so I have like 9 frames that I've been, have to be worked between.
Right.
So I'm going to be working with constructing tonight. I hope I had something more in advance tomorrow night.
Cool.
But yeah, it has been a challenge because then I first started with the box and started to get excited, and I bought a new lantern for that. But then again, when I wanted to use this, right? So it's kind of been challenging because it's different when you have a shadow puppet on the table when you have it on top, right? It's completely different. So you have to think about where to put your rods, how just to do it differently, right? So, but excited about it. I'm just thinking about giving some colors to it, like using some gels probably I have here, but then exploring in this monochromatic palette. That's kind of the things I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Exploring.
Well, yeah, I love it, and I love I love that it's taking you from kind of to use the resources that you have on hand. Once again, that's what this class is for. It's not. I'm not giving you assignments. I'm trying to get you to kind of think creatively about something you want to make and to explore that as fully as you can. So I'm just excited to see it, and I love the images that you've already created in there. I will mention this for both Sarah and Eileen in terms of working on the overhead. Another thing that you can experiment with there is for transitions, right? Is to use like sand or like dirt, right? And to put that on like a clear plastic piece of plastic and then like, sift it to the side to reveal the image. And there are even some famous internet videos about like people who do sand paintings, but on a light table with an overhead camera. So it's kind of a similar thing to that. But anyway, there's so many things to explore, and I think you all can see like there's also just a huge diversity in the way the people are approaching, which is super exciting, So that's awesome, Eileen. If there are some questions you have, you can always reach out to me. I'm going to jump back to gallery view for a second and just bring us all back together. So yeah, this is where we are tonight. And first of all, I just want to say I'm really impressed and excited by what all of you are making. And this is how we do it. You just grab those scissors and you just start going. There's no other way, right? And I also really love this part of the process too, because I think you're seeing from each other and from the work that others are making, what is possible and what is out there, even more so than I can if I just tell you, oh, do it this way, right? But to actually see other artists working in their spaces, figuring it out, we're just kind of really creating a nice kind of sharing of these ideas. And I hope that you just all feel that you're part of that, because it's a pretty cool thing to experience as your teacher from this side, to see that happen. We have about 10 minutes left, so I just want to open it up more broadly. Are there some other questions that folks have that you want to talk about? Are there just things you want to mention? Or oh, sorry, Lindsay, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have one technical question on one for my Act 2.
Yes.
I have a segmented little creature, but it's so segmented, I don't know how to control it.
Yes, yes, and I would say this this segmented this amount of segmentation is a little bit tricky because the joints are so free. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So if I was going to make a snake or something, I would make multiple like pieces of it, but I would probably use a wire joint so that I could pinch those joints a little bit tighter, and
Yes.
thus keep a bit of tension so that I have control over it.
Okay.
That's what I'd say. Not to say that that's, because that's a beautiful object, but maybe it will have to, you'll have to puppeteer it in a little bit of a different way in order to achieve what you're wanting. But I would, this is kind of what I was saying to Sarah, sometimes we need to create less points of movement rather than more points of movement, because more points of movement just gets harder to operate when it's just you alone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
maybe
what
if
I'd say.
I glue a couple of these together
Yeah, yeah.
and then use like the infinity joint instead of the thread joint.
Yes. If you were going to go really crazy, I would say just replace all the threads and do them all with infinity joints, and then make the ones that have to move a little bit looser, and the ones that need to hold the shape a little bit better, tighter. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's what I
Thanks.
suggest for that. Sure. Other questions? Anything at all?
I just something that I keep coming up against, that I explore and I play on my own with flashlights, all like this, but then as soon as it comes to putting it all together,
right,
I feel like, oh, hey, actually I just found out showing you guys tonight, they're like, boy, if my flashlight, if it moves from this position, then I've got a, you know, then I've got a kind of problem, because like, oh, this puppet that I made only works at this scale. This only, like, these guys I thought were kind of the same scale until I put them up on the screen. It's like, oh, actually, oh boy, this doesn't work. So I'm right now, my mind is sort of swimming along these ideas in puppetry of like, because I've got this smaller space, it's really important where my flashlight is.
Yeah.
It's really important. The size of my screen determines like everything that I'm gonna make. I don't know. This is just.
Well, no, I think that's a really important. These are important things to bring up, because once again, this, you know, this work is remarkably. It's precise. It requires being really precise about these things, and if you're going for something really, really particular, what I would say is important, because I once again, it's the same kind of thing as a puppet that has amazing joints but has way too many of them, right? At a certain point when you're working alone, you need to kind of say, okay, where can I simplify and like lock this? What is something I can do? I can make a lot of cool effects, but what is something I can do just to lock, so I have a kind of baseline stability in terms of what I'm going to show? So that might be why you could start with. You might be like, okay, I'm going to put tape where the darn light goes, and it's not going to move from there. And then I'm going to tape where the screen is, and just so that I know the exact relationship. And now I'm going to keep on moving forward, and I'm going to try not to change those two variables, right? At the same time, like, you know, changing the variables is how you discover new things. So But I understand the kind of creative soup that you're in, because you're like, whoa, it's so much, I can do anything, and yet there's too much to do. How can I do less? So it's our
Well,
yeah.
For this, I mean, even because I made, variables. I have many variables, but I like even with this screen to show tonight, I realized like for me to add, should I add 6 inches to the bottom of it? Should I add 8 inches? Maybe,
Right.
because like how long are my control rods all, going to be able to turn the guys like this, which seems so really so beneficial.
Yeah.
It just means like, I don't know, like redoing then all of these little pieces so that this guy can, instead of being like this, now they're going to be
right
here.
Well,
and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
would say
in the soup.
Yeah, I think you're in the. I can't give you a good answer because it's the artist process, but I just love that you're thinking about all these things, and you will get better because at a certain point, if you keep on doing shows like this, you'll be like, you know what, I tried that version, and now I know I need 6 inches, to be able to do these things. So anyway,
can you tell? I mean, I'd be so curious to know about your process for like what that process is for you for having a story in mind, having these puppets, having this specific stage, because that's what I love about this stuff is that it all kind of can come together into one thing,
right?
Sort of total vision stuff. But can you talk about how you, I don't know, like how you develop work or how you develop a story, or maybe just like one specific story that, hey, this is how I developed this. It's super helpful.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, I'll just mention one thing in the last 5 minutes that we have is I'm actually supposed to bring a show to the Myrna Loy in Montana in sometime whenever this pandemic is over or whatever. But anyway, it's a show that's called Tomte, and this show is a show about a Swedish gnome, right? And it's a story that I read to my kids a lot as a dad. And it's about just a gnome and a gnome's adventures, like kind of it's a gnome that is a caretaker of a farm, right? And this piece is designed for children, and but it's also done with a lot of, I hope, sophisticated things that make the storytelling like really accessible and charming and interesting to the parents of these children, right? So the way that I devised it, first of all, this is one where I had a story that had episodes, and just like Eileen and Kim, I made a storyboard which just talked about each separate scene, the action of each scene, right? This first scene is just gonna be about walking boots in the snow. That's it. And music, right? Next scene is just gonna be about a shadow seen through the trees, right? Next scene, a cat is gonna enter, which will be the first puppet that we see fully, and it's gonna meow, and then we'll for the first time see the gnome himself in full form. And so one of the ways that I'm thinking about are, first of all, a little bit filmically about the scale of the shots, like a close-up of boots, a medium shot of the forest, and then a wide shot of like a barnyard where you can see both characters. And also I'm thinking about the audience's interest, right? You build interest by beginning to develop these different themes for them in different ways. First, you don't show them everything at once, right? I'm showing a detail and then another detail, and this detail is accumulating to one vision, right? So,
for instance, do you, over the top of these images, are you like mic'd and speaking into the sound system? Is it a recording? Is there text over it, or is it just images?
In this particular show, there is a narration, very, very super simple narration, and there's also music. And all of those are done separately. And the way I started rehearsing them was by taking the music and putting the music on my iPhone, so I could just press play with a little speaker, right? And then just have it go cue to cue to cue to cue that way. So this piece, this Tomte Swedish gnome piece, is different than a lot of my work, because a lot of my work has no words whatsoever. But this one was particularly for kids, and there needs to be a little bit more of an anchor. But I will also say this, the piece, and I'm going to wrap this up in just a little bit, exists in shadow for about 12 minutes, right? 12 minutes of shadow performance, which is kind of an eternity. It's a long, long time to do shadows. But at the 12-minute mark, then I break the convention of the shadow, and we move into actual figurative puppets inside the stage. So I do a transition out of the shadow screen into a world that's not just darkness, but that's about like kind of a little gnome three-dimensional figure. So anyway, because I do think there is a there is a amount of time that you can sustain a story on a small screen or on a shadow screen, unless you can integrate other moments or make the storytelling so compelling that it can really pull people along for a long, long time. So I feel like you need to also we need to find ways that we can vary the rhythm of our work and also surprise the audience. So if they're expecting another thing to come again, that we change their expectation, and thus we keep them on their toes, you know, and then the show kind of develops in a way that has a dynamic life to it, right? So anyway, we could talk about this all night, but class is over. But I just want to say thank you once again. Really super excited to see everything you guys have shared. I know this is a lot of work. I know you have families. I know some people are working. I know you're taking care of people. I am so grateful that you are making things for this class. It's amazing in this time, right? And it's important also to just make things with our hands, because we spend so much time on these damn computers, right? And that, I hope that time with your hands is therapeutic, and it kind of grounds you to living in the real world. So anyway, keep on going. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow. Bring your puppets, because we're going to try the exercise of the squares and with a little music. Once again, I'm just going to do an update with each person. If you have specific things, you know, I want to deal with them. If you want like actual rehearsal advice, like Tom, can you give me some help with this? We can move forward on that. But just thanks again for day 3. We'll just keep on going tomorrow. There's still 24 hours till our next meeting. Well, less than 24 hours.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys,
I'm
hang
having
in
such
there.
a great time.
Stay
Wonderful
safe.
class.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.